This was never going to be just another match. Not at all. This was a collision of legacies, a real test of dominance, and honestly, a battle for the soul of an entire era. You had two of the most destructive forces in WWE history on a collision course, and at stake, one of the most historic championship reigns of our time. So let's really dive in and break down the psychological chess match that unfolded between these two titans.
And right from the get-go, the champion, Roman Reigns, he laid it all out on the table. This wasn't about sharing the spotlight. It wasn't about respecting the past. No, this was about erasure. For the tribal chief, this was a mission to prove that in his era, there's only room for one top predator, one final boss, one icon.
So this sets up just a fascinating conflict, doesn't it? On one side, you have the modern-day champion, Roman Reigns, a guy who's basically operating in what the announcers were calling God mode. I mean, a state of seemingly untouchable dominance where his confidence and his strategy are just flawless. And on the other side, you've got the primal force of nature, Goldberg, a living legend forged in the fire of a completely different time in wrestling.
And you really have to let this number sink in. 537 days. In the fast-paced world we live in, a championship reign of this length it's almost unheard of. It represents so much more than just a string of victories. It's about a level of control, of supremacy, and psychological pressure that has defined an entire generation of WWE. And to really wrap your head around that number, just look at this list. These are the only 4 men in the entire history of WWE to have held a world title longer than Roman Reigns. We're talking about the foundational pillars of this entire industry. This is the kind of rarefied air the head of the table was breathing. He wasn't just a champion, he was literally making a case for the history books.
But here's the thing, Goldberg wasn't just showing up as some ghost of the past. He came with a totally new mindset, and with it, a new threat. He said it himself, right? He was no longer just this explosive force who ran through everybody in 90 seconds. He was now a thinking man, a strategist. So this wasn't just going to be about the spear and the jackhammer. It was about trying to outsmart the master strategist himself.
So what this all boils down to is this, a perfect dichotomy. You've Reigns, the patient, calculating tribal chief, going up against Goldberg, the icon of explosive, all-or-nothing urgency. It's a total clash of styles, of philosophies, of eras. One guy wants to methodically dissect his opponent, the other wants to cause maximum destruction in the minimum amount of time.
Okay, so how did this psychological war actually play out inside the ring? Well, this wasn't some long, drawn-out epic. It was more like a high-stakes chess match, but, played with human bodies, where every single move could be the one that ends it all. The tension was just immense from the second that bell rang.
And really, this was the question on everyone's mind from the start. For Goldberg's strategy to even have a chance of working, he had to land a devastating blow early. He needed to overwhelm the champion before Reigns could settle in, implement his own game plan, and take control. The entire match, really, was hinging on these first few moments.
And in their very first physical exchange, something almost unthinkable happened. Goldberg, with just that raw, primal strength, he actually backed the dominant champion into the corner. And for just a second, Roman Reigns felt something he is not used to feeling, being physically outmatched. It was the first sign that Goldberg's power was a genuine, undeniable threat.
So that immediately puts the ball back in Roman's court, right? After that initial shock, could he survive the onslaught that he knew was coming? His entire strategy, his entire reign, it all depended on his ability to absorb Goldberg's explosive offense, stay composed, and just wait for that one critical opening to turn the tide.
And then it happened. A spear from Goldberg. Just out of nowhere, the champion was down, and you could feel the air just get sucked out of the entire building. The momentum, the control, the narrative, it all shifted in a single thunderous moment. For the first time, Reigns' historic reign felt truly deeply in jeopardy. The storm had officially arrived.
Okay, so this brings us to the turning point. The one single decisive moment where the entire match was won and lost. This is where the psychology of the fight truly paid off, and one-man strategy proved to be the ultimate weapon. Just when you thought Reigns had it figured out and taken control, boom, Goldberg comes back to life and hits another spear. This one was even more shocking. The champion was down, gasping for air, and Goldberg was signaling for his finisher, the jackhammer. It felt like the end. It really felt like we were about to see a world-changing title upset.
And right here, this is where the thinking man was outthought. As Goldberg hoisted Reigns up for that jackhammer, that's when the champion's mind took over. With incredible presence of mind,
Reigns shifted his weight, slid right off Goldberg's shoulder, and in one fluid motion, locked in his signature submission, the guillotine. It was a perfect, beautiful counter, turning Goldberg's ultimate weapon completely against him.
You see, for Roman Reigns, the guillotine isn't just another move. It's a statement. It's not about breaking a limb, it's about squeezing the life and the fight completely out of an opponent. It is the ultimate tool of control and suffocation, forcing his challengers to pass out and submit to his will. In this match, it was the absolute perfect strategic answer to Goldberg's raw, explosive power.
And just like that, it was over. Goldberg didn't tap out, he was out cold. Roman Reigns stood tall, his championship reign intact. He had faced down a legend, a true force of nature, and had once again proven that in his yard, it's strategy, patience, and control that reigned supreme.
So when you look back on this, here's what the history books will show. The reign continued, another Hall of Famer was added to the list of victims, and the path was cleared for that monumental showdown at WrestleMania. And maybe most importantly, Roman Reigns added even more fuel to his claim that he is, without a doubt, the greatest to ever do it.
Which leaves us with one last big question. After conquering legend after legend and cementing one of the most dominant reigns in history, who's actually left to challenge him? Who is left to deny him? Seriously, who is left to do anything but acknowledge the tribal chief?